Okay, so today we are going to look at how to make a slideshow from a story that you write. Most posts don't tend to work well as slideshows, but sometimes they just do really well as slideshows. And slideshows get you more views, they get you a ton more other stuff, and that's always a good thing. So we're gonna go look at this one. And what I noticed when I looked at this is that it's broken down into different parts. I mean, you're analyzing an entire depth chart, which is pretty great for things like slideshows because it makes people want to keep reading on and see, well, I wonder how this guy did, and I wonder how that guy did, and I wonder how this position did, or whatever. So, what I'm going to show you how to do is to do it, and I just want to show you when you're previewing this is what it looks like. It It doesn't look bad. It looks great and all that stuff. There's an ad in the middle of it, but that's not the point. But it looks good, and it's until you get to about down here where you start seeing how this post is set up. It's, you have a linebacker and then you have the verdict. You have these different blacked out parts, and sometimes that just looks, I don't know, sometimes it just looks a little not great, but not bad either. It's not a to a post, but this would look really nice on a slideshow, and it gets you more views. Also, a thing to look at down here is your word count. Usually, if it's above 1,000, usually that's a good indication that you're ready to do a slideshow because it's just so large, and people don't want to read 1,000 word articles sometimes. I know I have difficulty getting to the bottom of them sometimes, but so that's when your slideshow would come in handy. So what we're gonna do is I should have edited this before I did it, but let's just break it up into the most easiest situation. When you're doing a slideshow, no, I don't know what this is. And I don't know what that is, so we're just gonna let that sit there. So what you do is, let's say this is your first part. This will be what people see when they get to your page. When they first click on your story, they'll see this, and what they'll do is that'll be what they read. We'll take care of that in a little bit. But then what you want to do is go to where your first blackened part is. Your first, I guess basically your first category that you're on, and it'll be defensive line for this. What you do is you put your cursor up here, hit the enter button so you have a space, and then what you want to do is go to your short codes, go to the general page, and then go to next slide, which is right under next post and above Cite Social links. So go to next slide and click that. What you're going to do is you're going to get this. And this is the most important thing, is you have to remember to change this every time, or it's going to look silly and it's just going to be weird. So what you do is take out this part. Make sure you're keeping the quotations in there, because that's how the code works. And what you can put in there is what the next thing is. And since it's defensive line, we'll put defensive line. Don't have to do that. And then all you do is do that, and you're good. You don't have to change anything on this side of the code, and you don't have to change anything on this side of this code. Take your cursor and put it on the outside of the bracketed code. Next, hit enter again, and then come up here to where you see this page break, which is next to the spell check and next to the insert read more tag. What you do is you put a page break here, and that'll put this thing in here. And it's totally good. You don't have to enter again. Please don't hit enter again. I don't think. Well, actually, yeah. Just leave it the way it is, so you have a page break. And then, whenever you make a slideshow, you have to always have a picture in the slideshow at the start of, this thing is really bugging me, at the start of something. So, what you can do is go up to where your first thing starts and hit enter, and then bring your cursor back up there, And this is the only time that when you're putting photos in that you can insert them into a post, because they need to be inserted into a post. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy this guy's name because I can never spell it. Anyway, so with your cursor up here, you go to your add media and go to your USA Today sports images. You search up something relative to the topic. So if defensive line, well, this guy is he's going to be on the defensive line, so you want to put a picture of him or anyone else that you think is relevant to that thing. It depends, on what you think would go well. Again, try to find photos that are horizontal. Horizontal work far better, look better, are nicer looking, and just in general are better. So let's say we'll use this one because it's horizontal and it's perfect. You hit download. And after this little computer starts moving again, you hit download, you center it, you make it full size, I believe. I guess we'll find out when I do this. And then you hit, instead of hitting save all changes, you're allowed to be able to hit it into insert into post. And you use that. What it'll do is, I did that wrong, but you insert it into your post. We'll leave it like this for now because I want to see what this looks like. But anyway, so after you've put in your next teaser, your next slide code, you put in a page break after that, and then you put in a picture. You go up, hit save draft. Eventually it will. And now let's go back and let's preview what it looks like. And I'll show you the difference between the original, which I shut down for some reason. Anyway, so now you have this. You have your starting text that you started with, but then you have this. This is your next slide. It's your next slide link, and this is what the code made, which is good. So you click that, and what it'll do is it takes you to the next page. And this is where your page break came in. This is your page break. It breaks it up for you. This is your photo that you put in there. And then, you'll have all your, you'll have an ad over it, but that's where your picture will be. And then you have your defensive line thing. And you have every information you wanted into it until you get down to the verdict, which what you do is, if this is where your slide will end, this is where the end of it is. Let's go back here. If that's where the end of your thing is, what you're gonna do is right where it ends, click enter again and do the exact same thing. You put in a next slide, enter, page break. I don't know why I clicked the shortcut again. But then again, just remember, keeping your thing here, always changing this into whatever you want the black slide to say. And each time you do it, always hitting save draft, because you do want to save it constantly, because sometimes you might lose something and it'll send you into complete panic mode, and that's terrifying. So now again, we go back and we preview it. Maybe, if the computer lets me. You hit preview, you go back to it, eventually this will change, and what you notice is that this number changed. You're on 1 of 3 now instead of 1 of 2, because we've added another slide, we've added another chunk to it. And so here's your defensive line again. It'll stop moving. You click it, it'll hopefully take you to the next slide if the computer runs a little bit faster. But I'll take you to that slide. And there's your picture again, your defensive line thing. As you move down, all the stuff you wrote, and you do kind of want to make these somewhat short. Like, I understand that having these are important stuff, but you do kind of want to make them not super short, but short enough so that it doesn't take a ton to get through it, to get down to it. Like, there's chunks that this isn't edited, and so, you know, it's probably not completely finished, but you should be able to get down to the next slide part in at least 3 strokes down of the thing. But I don't know. I mean, it's dependent on how much you have to say about it. It could be just, you know, making sure that your anything you do, like your paragraphs are shortened up or anything like that. And it could just be that. But you want to be able to make sure that they have an idea that there's more coming and all that stuff. But anyway, back to originally what we came to preview this. This is your next part. And this is the next slide page break code that we ended up putting in. And if you click it, what you'll see is it'll come to your linebacker part, and all the rest of it is under here, but that's just dealing with, you know, putting more codes in. But it'll start you back up on the linebacker part. And again, you do the same thing. You'll put in a photo of someone that's super important to that that slide. Like if you were doing, you know, especially if you do like draft picks, like you put a picture of a draft pick in there. You'd put a picture of, you know, 5 free agents that you want a team to pick up. You put a picture of that free agent in there. It's just dependent upon what you want your reader to see. Like the line, like just getting them to go along with it, and because you want a picture on each one because it makes it more interesting and it makes it look more nicer. And then we'll say one thing, that what I was saying about how you don't want them to be super long, you don't want them to be very you know, long and you know, not thought out, but long and I guess wind blowing, but that's makes no sense to anybody because I don't think anyone's from actual Canada. Anyhow, this is like this amount of stuff, this text, this is a great amount for a slideshow. That looks great. That will get people to read quick. It gets the point across. If it does, you want to get the point across real quick. It has 2 black and 2 bold parts, so the person knows what they want to read, what they need to read, and then what they'll see right under it is they'll see the next slide, and they'll be more encouraged to click on it rather than feeling like they have to go down and down and down to find the next slide. Well, if it's like this is a great amount for slides. About 50 to 100 words is decent for a slide. I go about midway, I go about 75, 80 words if it calls for that. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes if you do infographics or graphs or charts and stuff like that, that helps because then people are more inclined to look at it because they like seeing that and all that stuff. But it does depend kind of just who your demographic is, who you're gonna be reading this. And if you're, you know, if you're posting it to people who are super big, you know, Lions or Red Wings or Tigers fans, they'll read all of it because they love their team so much that they won't care. They'll read it. It'll be good. But slideshows are to get people who may not have the time to fully read it, or who may not fully have the time to sit down and read a nice 1,000 post article. But if you shorten it up, make it about 900, and with slides, people can quick read through, and it's better for them. And people like them, so I suggest we really do them. I think they're great. They get you a lot of views. They're good. They take a lot of work. They are a lot of work, but they are worth it in the end, and hopefully this helps show you how to start them. Just remember, it's always a next slide from the shortcut, and then under that you put a page break, and then under your page break you can start doing a picture, and under your picture you should start all of your text that leads into the next one. And I'm getting really tired of that thing. But I hope this helps. I'm sorry this is really rough, but this is about as rough as it gets for me. I need a new camera on a computer and all that stuff. So I hope this helps, and I hope that this came out okay, because if it didn't, I don't want to do this again, because I'm so tired. But hopefully this works.